Hello friends. Your friend Ross greets you. Today I will tell you the story of the lazy guy. Once upon a time there was a boy named Doe. He was a young student who had always been a bit lazy. He liked to spend most of his time in his room watching comics and videos on his tablet, and playing video games on his cell phone. Doe lived in a small town with his parents. He always had his room messy and dirty. He never bothered to pick up his things from the floor, wash the dishes or take out the trash. His parents had tried to teach Doe better habits, but he never seemed to listen. His mother was in charge of picking up his things, taking the dirty dishes out of his room, and washing his clothes. Doe wanted to study at a university in the city, but his parents, knowing how lazy their son was, did not want to allow him to live far away. After Doe insisted so much and promised that he would be clean and tidy to fend for himself, his parents finally agreed. Doe moved to the city, and began to live alone in a small room in the city. He applied for the university but his performance was very low and he was not admitted, so Doe would have to apply for the next year. Doe knew that he couldn't break this news to his parents because they would make him come home, so Doe told his parents that he was already a college student. Meanwhile, Doe thought about taking a gap year to better prepare himself for the next test. As the days passed, Doe postponed studying, and did not need to work because his father had paid a year's rent in advance. He also deposited his son's tuition and money for his personal expenses, so that Doe could concentrate 100% on his studies. Doe was happy without the pressures of his parents or schoolwork. He was dedicated to watching his favorite series and playing his favorite video games. He could eat all the junk food he wanted and stay up all night without limit of time for go to sleep. Now that Doe lived alone, he had also neglected his personal hygiene. He didn't care about bathing or grooming, so Doe's body gave off an unpleasant and sour smell. He no longer had anyone to reproach him for being stinky, that he had lost interest in being clean. This is how the days passed, and without realizing those days turned into months. But Doe kept putting off his homework. He didn't study or clean his room. He ate from the same dirty dishes without washing them, and he had run out of clean clothes. One day, Doe woke up to find his room absolutely filthy. There was dirt and grime everywhere, and flies lazily buzzed around the room, drawn to the rotten food and piles of dirty laundry. Doe groaned and rolled over, burying his face in the pillow. But while he was lying there, he heard a strange noise. It was a low, nasty growl that seemed to come from somewhere in his bedroom. Doe sat down, feeling a little uncomfortable. He looked around, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. The growling continued, growing louder and more insistent. Doe got out of bed and searched his room. The noise was definitely coming from nearby, but he couldn't see anything in the dim light. Shaking with fear, Doe searched every corner of his room. He saw that the walls were covered in dirt and grime, and the air was thick with the buzz of flies. He paced across the room, feeling as if something was watching him from the darkness. When he reached the end of the room, Doe saw a door he had never noticed before. It was covered in cobwebs and looked as if it hadn't been opened in years. The growling came from behind the door. Doe hesitated, wondering if he should back off. But something drew him to the door, a feeling of curiosity and fear that he couldn't resist. He pushed the door open slowly, revealing a small room that was even dirtier than the rest of the bedroom. The small room was littered with piles of garbage and rotting food. Flies abounded in the room, their buzzing multiplied by their proximity. Doe gagged at the stench, feeling sick to his stomach. But then he saw something that made his heart stop. The walls of the room were covered in maggots, wriggling in the grime. They were everywhere, crawling over each other in a disgusting mass. Doe tried to turn and run, but the door slammed behind him and he fell to the ground. He was trapped, surrounded by dirt and maggots. He screamed. His screams sounded drowned out by the buzz of flies and the writhing of maggots. As Doe struggled to escape, he noticed maggots starting to burrow into his skin. They forced their way inside him, making him tremble and writhe in agony. He was trapped in the dirt, unable to escape, while the worms ate him from within. Doe writhed and screamed. The flies took the opportunity to enter his mouth, nose and ears. He moved his arms desperately trying to push them away, but it was impossible for them to leave. A black cloud was formed enveloping Doe completely. In the darkness, Doe's screams finally faded. Doe's body was completely devoured by worms and flies. His parents never heard from his son again or saw him alive again. At the end of a year after Doe moved in, the owner of the bedroom did not receive the following deposit. He went to visit the room and saw that no one lived there anymore, nor was there any sign that someone had been living there in recent months. The owner had the room deep cleaned and was put up for rent again. The room was rented successively on several occasions, but the tenants only lasted 1 month and 2 months maximum in that bedroom. Some say that late at night, you can hear a low grotesque growling coming from the small room. And if you pay close enough attention, you can hear the whisper of something crawling across the room. This has been all for today. I hope you liked it. I send good wishes to all. Just as bad vibrations are transmitted, good energies are also shared. That's why I hope everyone is well, and I also await your comments so that I can improve the content of the channel and so be to your liking. Her friend Ross says goodbye. Until next time, friends.